We're thrilled to welcome actor, father, badass, South African, and our furthest guest away we've ever interviewed on the podcast. Brandon Auret, thank you very much for joining us, and good afternoon, good evening, I suppose, wherever we are. Yeah, fantastic.
Good evening from my side.
Yeah, well, I think we're only an hour, 2 hours behind you, something like that, depending on whereabouts in South Africa you are. But
I know it's nighttime because generally my cats sit and watch the sunset.
Cool,
fantastic.
Very attentive.
Yeah.
So how has your Sunday afternoon in South Africa been today, Brandon? What's been happening?
Well, I work most of the morning. So I had COVID closed a lot of things down for actors and performers in our country. There's still not much entertainment happening. So right about 2 years ago, it just, as fate would have it, a friend of mine got his license for his medical marijuana facility, and that's what I've been doing for the last year and a half. He's been running this facility for him, so there's no days off for me. I literally work.
And business is booming.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic, cool.
There's a lot of social distancing, I'm sure.
So, I mean, we must admit we don't get a great deal of sort of South African TV and film over here in the UK. So I think, our first exposure to your work was probably in District 9. But you've worked with Neill Blomkamp, the director, quite a bit, and you've done Elysium since then, and Chappie as well. So, I mean, is that a relationship with him that's built, or is that coincidence? What's going on there?
I had no idea what District 9 was going to be about. There was rumors going around that I was up for not Sholto's part, the other lead character's part. Yeah. With Neill, preferencing me, and the other actor being preferenced by the other producers. So I went through quite a hectic audition for that. I had like 3 or 4 callbacks and still no idea what was happening. And then you get that call where they say, listen, sorry about it, but the other actor got the part, and basically you're downlisted. It's, you don't hear about it again. But I got a call from Vicky, which is Neill's assistant. And she said, look, Neill really liked your audition and he really dug what you brought to the table. And he'd like to write a part for you and get you into the film. So all those little things that I do in District 9 were all kind of Neill stitching me in where he could. And it was so weird because at the after party that we had for District 9, Neill kind of came up to me and he said to me, hey man, listen, thanks so much, and I'm sorry about how everything worked out. I was rooting for you, and we'll work again together. You know what I mean? And I kind of, as you hear that a lot as an actor,
Sure.
Yeah.
Empty words sometimes.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Totally. So in one ear and out the other, and just kind of smile and wave, and I'm very grateful for the work that I have had with you, or whatever. And literally a year later, I got a call from Vicky saying that. I had to put together a casting tape for this movie called Elysium, and I did it. Not really. I don't think I've ever been an actor that really worries about the work that's coming. I'm more concerned about, let me do what I can now. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't try and spend the time on something that may or may not happen. So I spend that time on what I have to do now. So I sent through that audition, and I got the part. And Neill and I think our friendship, because I think we are South Africans. We have the same kind of sense of humor, and we just got on really, really well. And we both have a love for like weapons and the military and all of that kind of stuff. So from then it was just a relationship that was forged. And every time I think he needed somebody to come and get blown up or get thrown around and be abused by a director, give me a call and say, listen, I've got this and this happening.
We might talk about that a little bit later on, actually.
Yeah, no problem. We also, so, and I think also Neill knows that I'll never say no to him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like working with a couple of directors that it would be very, very difficult for me to say no to them. And Neil's definitely one of the top ones up there. He's an amazing dude to work with, but he's really you don't hear this often, but he's a good human being. He's really a good person. You know what I mean? What you see is what you get. There's no blasé or any facade about him. So,
and that's good. And what a body of work as well, because I mean, District 9 for one is a modern classic, really. Yeah, it's so successful internationally. And I stuck it back on last night, not seen it in years, and I'm blown away by it. I mean, the style is sort of so unique, and it's such an interesting way to make a movie as well. Yeah. Really, really cool film.
I love that for a time being, you and Sharlto Copley were almost like Neil's De Niro and Pesci coming, popping up in obviously District 9, Elysium, Chappie, and obviously you popping up again in it's Raqqa, isn't it? I love that. It's absolutely brilliant. And for me, I loved your performance in that, because for me, it was almost like you were channeling Tom Waits a little bit, like that sort of craze. Tom Waits in Dracula, I think it is. It was really, really cool. How I suppose you've already kind of spoke about it a little bit, but like that working relationship with Neill, how was that, especially on Raqqa, which is a much sort of smaller production to a certain extent.
With a big budget.
With a big budget, I suppose.
Yeah. See, I think Neill has a way of taking really, really okay budgets and making them look really, really massive. Yeah. I think that's his genius. You must understand that he's an intimidating director in that he has a vision, and you have to trust him 100%. You have to trust all your directors 100%, but he is so set on what his vision. He's such a visionary that he can coax you into molding your drive and your character's instincts to fit into that mold. But within that mold that you have, you're allowed to play within that.
Yeah.
So and I think it's great to work like that, because you see the end result and you kind of go, okay, I had no idea what exactly it is that he wanted me to do. I did the best that I could, and this is how it came out, and it looks fucking great. So
it amazes me, District 9, considering it's 13 years old, maybe a little bit more, something like that. The effects and the CGI are still better than majority of the things we're seeing now, and obviously that's down to Weta and things like that. But it really, but I remember I was just out of studying film at university, and that hit me at just the perfect time. It really blew me away.
I think it inspired a lot of people, that film. It really upsets me when, like, I'm a fan of Neill as a filmmaker, not just as a director and so on. I'm really am a fan of his stuff. Like, I think Chappie, I think, I don't know if people were ready for something like Chappie yet. In a way, it's almost like a science fiction art film. It's kind of stitched together in his way of storytelling. But I just think that him having the opportunity to do Aliens or to do Robocop, those are things that excited me about him. And then to have that kind of ripped out from underneath him, I kind of realized that, there's a whole background story to what happened with me and Sony and Chappie and it's always a thing about why did I never go to overseas and do the work overseas and stuff like that, because the people that have the final say, I think sometimes miss artistic value, or they missed artistic integrity. For them it's about money, bottom line. And I think Neill not doing Alien was a bad idea, and I think Neill not doing Robocop was an even worse idea, because I know it's one of my top 5 films, the first Robocop. And just things that we spoke about. It was going to be a continuation of the first movie, not a continuation of the second, which excited me because it was, you know, he's and the weird thing about Neill is if you actually get to know him is that yes, his films are very gory and they're very in your face, but he's actually in real life is quite like real gore really upsets him. he can't handle it, you know what I mean? Like having to go for like an operation or something like that on him, that actually freaks him out. So he's a super intelligent guy, and but he's a very complex human being.
Yeah.
You know?
And on that point of CGI, then, I mean, it's obviously you've done a lot of work with CGI. How much of a barrier to overcome is it as an actor working with CG? I mean, presumably you do a lot of talking to a blue foam ball that's hanging above you and things like that. I mean, you must be pretty used to it now, you know, with the body of work that you've been involved with.
Yeah, man. That's where your imagination's got to come into play. You got to, you got to channel your inner child and just and totally believe that. And it's always been an interesting thing because I'd really love to have some kind of a visual reference as to what I'm imagining as a character and what the next person is imagining as a character and what the next person and just kind of see what we actually are acting, because, you know, if it's a blue screen or a green screen, everybody has to make up their own mind as to what it is that they are seeing. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's organized chaos almost sometimes.
I like and that. you must be as surprised as everyone else when you go into the screening and actually see how it's sort of taken effect, you know.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
You're quite notorious for your commitment to your characters, Brandon. Whether it's the lengths you went to the lengths you went to bring that physicality to Hippo in Chappie, air quotes, wink, wink, or you know, bringing that sort of your military knowledge. I know you you did military service back in the 90s, I think. So what has been the most difficult character you've portrayed on screen? Oh, we've frozen.
All difficult.
There we go.
We had a connection loss then. Actually,
hello?
Brandon.
There we go.
You're still with us. You've frozen. And then can we start the answer again? Just because I think I lost you for that one. Yeah.
I don't know. There you back.
There we go.
Yeah.
We're back.
I think they're all difficult. I think when actors think that characters are easy, I think that's a downward slope to trouble. It's the amount of hard work that goes into. I know a lot of, and I don't know how other actors work. I work from a physicality, and then I work on everything. I believe that your mindset affects your body affects your soul, your spirit, your intentions, and all of that. So I've always been one to work out, okay, where would this character be in his life physically? You know, everything else for me will then fall into place. And you know, I'm generally not a big guy. I walk around at about 81, 80 kilograms, sometimes 79, depending on what it is. And it was hard work and a lot of steroids as big as what I did for Hippo, because I mean I literally put on almost 20 kilograms in 13 weeks.
Wow.
I don't think Neill or any of them had any idea what I was doing until after about week number 4, week number 5, when he called me and he said to me, "What the hell is going on with you?" And I'm like, "Just wait."
Nice. Excellent.
But you know, the weird thing is that after Chappie, I had been pre-booked for a movie called Broken Darkness, a South African like apocalyptic zombie film. And about a month after I finished shooting Chappie, I went for a read-through, and the director looked at me and he was like, "Yo, dude, we've got some issues here." And I'm like, "Wow, what's the story?" He says to me like, "So your character's been living underground for like 8 months, living on almost nothing, and you know, there's no virgin actors down there."
Oh, we lost him again.
And he was like, "Yo, in 16 weeks," and I said to him, I'll have done. I'll.
Yeah.
So I've put my body through a lot of a lot of physical damage, just not just from training for characters or putting on weight, losing weight and putting on weight, or but also I've also kind of stuck to doing my own stunts most of the time as well. You know, I'm really my stunt doubles that get given to me, they often aren't very happy that they have to double me because they don't get to do a lot of work in my stunt. So I don't know. Just for me, characters are fun. I've got to have fun with the character. It's got to want to make me dance in the film. You know what I mean? If it doesn't make me want to do something in the film, then there's no interest. Then something's not up to scratch with me, or the script, or the storyline, or something. Yeah. But for me, it's like a dance. You know, you've got to follow each other, and if you guys are in sync with each other, it's a beautiful thing. If you're not in sync with each other, you stand on each other's toes, and egos get in the way, and people get upset. And I don't do that on set. I'm not here to fight people and boost egos and stuff like that. I'm here to do a job. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's a job. It's an occupation, not a job. It's an occupation. So very happy to be one of those.
I'm interested in your thoughts as an actor on cinema and digital platforms. So do you see cinema and digital streaming services as two things that can coexist sustainably? Is one a threat to the other? And also, does the development of the distribution side of the industry change your outlook on work? Are you bothered as an actor where your film ends up and how?
Yeah, 100%. I have no problem with anything that's got to do with Netflix, anything to do with streaming platforms. If you are streaming something that's meant for that. So I'm all about the series and all of those kind of things. That's great. Let them run there. But, you know, for me, epic films need to be seen in an epic environment. I could never imagine watching the original Star Wars on a small TV with surround sound. It would never have had the influence on me that it did, you know. So I think there's been a break. I think there's going to be a break, but I think the experience of going to a cinema and eating popcorn and having your slush puppy and enjoying that I don't think will ever go away. I think filmmakers will find a way to make it entertaining again.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. And the cool thing that happened over here, in between various lockdowns, like sort of last summer, was when the cinemas were first able to open and they didn't have the sort of new material to put on. They started putting a load of old stuff on. So one of the first films I went back to see at the cinema was they put Empire Strikes Back on the big screen, and it was a really cool experience. Like seeing it, well, because obviously I never got to do that the first time around. So it was fantastic. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's important, you know. I mean, it's you know, it's not just about going to the movie or sitting down and watching a film. It's that experience. It's an experience. It's an outing, you know. It's like my daughter and I, just before COVID, it was date night for us. You know, we'd go out, and Friday or Saturday night we'd go and watch whatever movie it was, whether it was cartoons, whether it was animation, whatever it was. It's a beautiful thing. I hope that it doesn't become too much VR. I mean, VR is great for what it is, but I think the experience of going to a film and watching something that is massive is always going to be there for people to want to do. I just hope that it comes back sooner than later.
Yeah. Definitely. So we kind of touched on it earlier. You've had some pretty amazing screen deaths. I think we need to just admit this straight off. You've been disintegrated by a robotic suit. You've been pulverized by Matt Damon with a big gun. Savaged off screen though, by a lion. Beaten to death with a spade by Ninja, we won't mention him.
Not dead. Not dead.
Not dead. Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
No. My thing was like, you don't know that he's dead.
Okay. There we go.
I always had this vision that if they ever did like a number 2 movie, that the second movie would open up with all of these pipes coming out of like his face and his nose and these things, and he'd wake up. It was this vision of Ninja smacking with a spade, and he would wake up and he'd be like, "Is that all you've got?"
Definitely. Which has been your favorite, do you think?
My favorite death.
Yeah. I know it's a bit of
I think I die in almost every single movie that I've ever made. I think the shark films that I've done some crazy B-grade shark films. I did Planet of the Sharks and Attack of the Six-Headed Killer Shark. So I don't die in those.
Right.
You know, I get to play the good guys in that. The good guys somehow just never die. But I think the most epic death for me was in District 9. I mean, that death was just
it was
beautiful.
it was
beautiful.
Yeah.
It was visual. It was spectacular. It was loud.
Messy. It was messy. Yeah.
It was very messy. Yeah, there were a lot of firsts for me as well in District 9. There was a lot of firsts for a lot of people. That film opened up. Well, it opened up the South African industry to the rest of the world as well. You know, people always tend to think, oh, just did it so amazingly for Sharto and for Neill. And I'm like, yeah, it did. But it also did some really great stuff for the South African film industry, because all of a sudden people were like, hold on a minute. What do you mean? What do you mean you can shoot that kind of film in South Africa? They'd come here and they would realize, like, our crews and our behind the scenes people, they only do international films, you know. The South African film industry is very small. It's very tiny, and it's very kind of you know, they keep to themselves and they don't really want to get involved with other stuff. But then there's a lot of international films and international series that shoot in this country, and it's been good for a lot of actors. A lot of actors have actually gone overseas and landed really good careers. But so have camera guys and assistant directors and sound guys. They've all, you know, an American director or a British director comes over here, they meet someone, they click with them, and they're like, you're my guy. Wherever I go in the world, you're coming with me. That has happened so many times. We've lost so many of our really, really great filmmakers to the international markets. And you know what? Good on them, boo. Go where you're appreciated, because unfortunately the film industry and in this country, there's no appreciation for that. I get more appreciation from overseas than what I do from my own South African counterparts. So it's a weird thing, but it is what it is.
It kind of leads on to my next question, away, because I mean, and I hope you take this as the compliment in which it's intended, Brandon. But I think to a lot of our listeners, you'll be the guy people pause the film for to go to IMDb and go, why is he so familiar? What have I seen him in? You know, and I think you've got an unmistakable and sort of lasting screen presence. And
wow, thank you. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about Mike.
You're very welcome. I guess I'm interested to know, sort of like, you seem to be quite sort of discerning about the roles you take. I'm interested, what would you turn down? I'm sure there's a never-ending list of the things you would turn down, but how important is the role being right?
The content of the character and of the film. You know, maybe if you'd asked me that question maybe 10 years ago, I would have had a different answer, but I'm a dad now, so I won't do any kind of rapey scenes or pedophile scenes or that kind of nakedy, nudity stuff. Not that I don't think it is, but it is for the storyline. But I just have, as a dad, I have to now distinguish the long-lasting potential of what I do on screen. It's always going to be there. It can never be taken away. So there's not much that I won't do, but when it comes to that kind of thing, it's about the impression that I leave for my girls. You know what I mean? I'm very specific about that thing. I actually had a scene that I had to do like almost like a rape scene, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it, and they had to try and change it somehow. I just thought, you know, my daughter's going to see this, and I just don't. If it doesn't sit with me, it doesn't sit with me. I think that's what it is. So I like fun characters. I don't like anything that's, you know, too serious and stuff like that. I think it's easier to play kind of the supporting roles, which I've done most of my life, because we kind of get to have more fun, I think, as actors. You know, it's very hard being the lead actor, and it's not just about being the lead actor. It's about, you know, you've got to come onto set with a certain energy, and you've got to be a certain way with certain people. I mean, like even good directors. And I think Neill is a very good example of that. And I noticed that. I think it was in Chappie, weird enough, that I noticed. I didn't notice it anywhere else, but he would walk on set and know everybody's name. And he would greet them by their names, whether it was the coffee lady or the dude who was cleaning up or the sound engineer, whoever it is, he would say, "Hi, Andrew, Mark, hey, Matthew," and that to me is that's content that I want to work with.
Yeah.
Because if you're working with people like that, you can only have good things come out of it. So.
Cool. Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. My problem is that I'm a whore to the script, and a lot of the times my agent doesn't even send me scripts because like I'll just agree to doing it, and she'll be like, "But they haven't made you an offer yet." I'm like, "I'll just do it."
Brilliant.
She's like,
it's a nice outlook to have, though. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So as we're coming sort of to the end, towards the end of the interview, obviously I'm intrigued to know kind of what's next, looking forward, obviously, COVID aside and all this sort of stuff, what's next for you, acting wise or film wise, anything like that?
I don't know if I'm going to, no, it's a tough one. If it opens up and things open up, then I will allow, like I've always just, I'll allow destiny to lay out the cards on the table and let me choose which ones I think are right. But I am, I have my own production company, and I at the moment am more focusing on getting the films that we had written, produced and made. We did about six or 7 years ago, we did a short film of one of our scripts, just as kind of like a pitch short film. And we entered it into like as many festivals as we could. And we walked away with like, I think 24, 25 awards. Wow. So, but again, subject, nobody wants to be reminded about the past. And, that particular movie, even though we won so many awards, never got any mentions in South Africa about how well this short film that we shot over 8 days with a budget of like, I think we had 100,000 rand to shoot. Because it's touching on things that people don't want to talk about. We had our own Vietnam in South Africa. We had the Angolan War. We had all of these wars happening. And it's not about the war, but it's about the effect that war has on human beings, whether you're a child soldier, whether you're a grown man, whatever it is. So I want to still tell that story. And I have another story it's already been written that I'm actually at the moment, funny enough, speaking to one of our stations about getting it done and stuff like that. But I'm very sticky about this. I will not shoot the film if I don't have the right budget. I'm not going to cut corners. We were offered, funny enough, when we pitched Making a Killing in America, we were told that we could get the $2 million that we needed if we could get a star. And they were thinking about, I think it was either Jean-Claude Van Damme or somebody else. And I just said to them, thanks, but no thanks. I can't have that come here and tell a South African story when he's not a South African. I'm not saying that you have to be, but those stories are specific. It's like, when they made Platoon, which to me is still to this day one of the greatest films ever made. The only way that those actors were able to understand what was going through is that they went through it. You know what I mean? They were put through some really, really rigorous training before they went. And that's only a hint. And that's got nothing to do with your background, your culture, your breeding, your influences, and all of that. So for me, it was very specific. I don't have to play the part. I really, really don't. I'm over that kind of stuff. The right person, the right place, right time. But you need the right actor that can bring the essence of being a South African boy that is forced into the military, forced to do things that he doesn't understand, leaves the military, comes back to find that his family has moved on to onto another family, and how does he make it right? How does he make up for the mistakes that he did that he wasn't even responsible for? You know what I mean? And those are the stories, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's any of these wars that we've been through. There's always going to be collateral damage, and it doesn't always have to be a human being. It can be your mind, your mindset, your psychology. So those kind of stories are now intriguing me as I get older. So I've got 2 movies that it's as you guys know, man, everybody's got a movie. Everybody's got that movie, and I don't know if I've got that movie, but I have a movie. I have 2 that I want to get done. So fantastic. We'll see. I mean, I'd love to play the parts because the movies were written specifically when we commissioned the writer to write them for me. But we got to be honest with ourselves sometimes. You know, I'm getting a little bit older now, and it's tough. You know, it's tough. The body sometimes just says, "Hey, you know, enough is enough," and we'll see what happens. My ego will allow me to kind of let the part go to the right person if the right person comes along. I know the directors that we want to work with have already said, no, there's no two ways about it. We're going to work with you. We'll work around it. And I said, that's the problem. I don't want you to work around anything.
Yeah,
it's got to be done properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I didn't think that I would, at the age of 48, be running a cannabis farm. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. It's amazing what life deals you.
Yeah, and what you make of it. You know, I could be sitting at home bitching and moaning about the fact that there's no films, or the only thing that they really shoot in this country are soap operas, and I did that for like 8 or 9 years of my life, and never again. I would rather go and do something else than do that sausage factory stuff. I just think it robs you of any artistic value that you have. It really does. But I don't know.
Cool.
We'll see. I'm very grateful. I mean, my goal was to do one movie. That's what I ever wanted to do. As a kid, I wanted to do one movie. I've done a whole bunch. So
absolutely.
I'm happy.
And you, I mean, you mentioned earlier about enjoying the cinema with your girls, with your daughters. I mean, one thing we love doing as dads is, we've got very young ones, but I've got a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I love them getting to that moment where I'm like, oh, they're old enough for me to show them this, and you know, start introducing them to the classics that sort of I loved growing up, and so I'm interested to know, sort of, as a dad, what are your sort of go-to sort of family films, kid films that you've sort of looked forward to introducing to your kids in the same way?
I can tell you right now, my oldest daughter loves School of Rock.
Oh wow, nice.
It's like one of my favorite all-time movies. I love Jack Black. But that and the Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy, obviously.
Am I right in saying you've seen Return of the Jedi 1,000 times or something like that?
Yeah, I've watched that movie more than I've watched any other movie in my entire life.
Do I do the tattoo, Greg? What do you think about that?
That's amazing.
That's
in Star Wars, in the first Star Wars, the what are they called? Not the Jabberwocks,
the Jawas.
The Jawas. They there's a word that they keep screaming at each other. Utini, Utini. Okay? In Zulu, in South Africa, Utini means what? Say it again. You know, cool. So it was Return of the Jedi that made me want to become an actor. You know, I had a friend. You have that dude at school who has all the Star Wars figurines and the X-Wing fighters and the TIE fighters, and I had a friend. His name was Paul Gerard, and he had all of this stuff. But while they were playing with it, there was always something on the TV. It was either Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, or Return of the Jedi. But Return of the Jedi, for some reason, I became so fixated with that film that I realized, that's what I want to be. And it was like, you can't be a Jedi. I said, no, I don't want to be a Jedi. I want to do what they're doing. And I know this is going to sound really weird, but Sylvester Stallone in the First Blood Rambo was the movie that made me go, and that's the kind of movies I want to do. Cool. So it's been, and also having a military background was I suppose was a good thing for me as an actor, because I was able to pick up all the firearms and do all the drills a lot quicker than most other actors, and it saves the producers money when you can do that. You know?
Yeah, definitely. So, wow. Oh, brilliant. School of Rock. Rambo, Return of the Jedi.
I've got some really weird movie titles. I mean, that I like, and there's a lot that people like Clockwork Orange and all of those kind of crazy movies and stuff like that. But you know, there was a movie. I forget what the movie's called. It was one of the first movies that I watched again. It was about the millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire?
Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
What was probably one of the first movies that I'd watched in a very long time, where I didn't watch the movie from an actor's point of view or a person who's involved in that industry. You know, how do you do that shot? Or that's great acting. Or I love that. It was the first movie in a very long time that it started and then it ended, and I went, what a movie. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to work out how they did shots and how did the actor do that and why did he do it and trying to get into his. So for me, when movies do that to me, it's they go into my top list.
That's Dev, and you worked with Dev Patel, didn't you? In Chappie, so what a guy. We love him. We love Dev.
So that was really some of the weirdest like experiences in my life of meeting these people. Is when I met him, I just said to him, dude, whatever that Slumdog was a movie that was. He was like, it's just a movie, you know. It's just, like, don't understand, dude. To you, it's just a movie, but to me, it was an awakening again to sometimes go and watch a movie without having your actor's glasses on. To go and sit back and just
amazing.
You know?
Yeah, that's cool.
And he's a great guy. Oh, he's such a great dude. They all are. Eh? Like I've yet to meet that celebrity, massive A-list actor that's a real dick. I haven't met that. Okay, I say A-list. There's a lot of dick actors out there. I'm talking about A-list actors. We keep hearing about all these bad stories. I mean, Megan Fox was just so cool and so down to do things.
Cool.
And Matt Damon was amazing. I mean, Matt Damon was he was chilled. Sigourney Weaver, out of everyone that I've worked with, is by far my favorite. She's just amazing. She's just I don't know what it is. She is what she is. She has this aura about her, but the minute she opens her mouth, you don't feel any less. She makes you feel.
That's cool. It's so nice cool, to know that these big names aren't a letdown and they're disappointed. That's really, really cool.
Dude, I could tell you a story about my red carpet for Chappie in New York. I took one of my best friends in America, South African, who's living there now, and whenever I go overseas, he always looks after me. Hey, come and stay with me. Don't stay there. Stay here. You save your money. You come stay. So I took him with me onto the red carpet, and I'm not really into drinking and partying and all of that kind of thing. So they were all having a jaw, and he said, "Listen, I will see that. I'm gonna go dance with Sigourney Weaver." And I was like, "No, you're not, dude. Just chill, just chill." I went outside, I smoked a joint. I walked back inside, and and she was and I was just like, that's the kind of person. She's such a beautiful human being, but she allows you to be beautiful with her. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, and that to this day was probably one of the most amazing experiences that he had. To me, it was it's a red carpet. You're going to be drinking, but he keeps saying to me, I got down with Sigourney. Down with her. And I was like, I know more what you do.
Amazing.
Wow, absolutely.
But I love her. I think she's amazing. I think they're all amazing, and the nice thing about it is I never felt threatened as an actor being there with that kind of, massiveness that they are and the hugeness of these movies that they carry. I never felt beneath them. And I think you hear all these horror stories of actors you can't look them in the eyes and you can't chat to them and you can't and you must understand that I went into these films with that kind of thought process, and it was I was very glad to come to terms with the fact that that's not always the truth.
Wow. And what a note to end on. I think that's absolutely beautiful note to end on.
Before we let you go, Brandon, we have this feature that we do every week. It's called the Movie Train. So what we do is we talk about a film, but then we link to the next week. It might be via a connecting actor or a director, or it might be something more tenuous. It might be a location, something like that. And for this week, we came via the South African route because we did Monster with Charlize Theron to District 9. So we're at District 9, okay? And I want to ask you if you could link us from District 9 to another film for us, give us a recommendation, and we'll go away and watch it. We chat about it next week. So it could be...
It's got to come from District 9?
Yeah, so it could be another one of Neill's films. It could be, you know, one of the actors in District 9. It could be one of your own films, or, you know, something linked to that in some sort of way.
What I'm going to do, what I am going to suggest, there's a film, and if you guys, I know it is around. It's called Durban Poison.
Okay.
So Durban Poison is slang in South Africa for weed. It's kind of like, but the story is kind of, not kind of, it is. So we in the 80s had kind of our own Bonnie and Clyde, and they went on this killing spree. And that story was never told. And I think when you talk about some of my favorite characters that I've ever played, I think that particular character took a shitload out of me from a psychological point of view. And if you can get your hands on it, and I know you can, it is available online. If you can't, I will send it to you.
Oh, cool.
Somehow. And it's called Durban Poison, and that will give you an idea of like the real South African kind of art films that are shot here.
Yeah,
it's a really good film.
Cool. It looks great. I'm just looking it up. It looks great. Let me just see if it is available anywhere.
And if you can, you should go check out a film called Broken Darkness.
Darkness. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. No, that's fine. We will track down Durban Poison, and we'll definitely give it a watch.
Yeah.
Brandon, absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your time. You know, you've given us a really good insight into, you know, the film industry, the South African film industry, but also, you know, your films you've been in. And I know it was a while ago, but I absolutely adore District 9. It's such a good film. And then moving forward, I just, you know, it's lovely seeing you in sort of a smaller role in District 9, and then these roles getting bigger and progressing in these films. And again, as I said at the beginning, Raka, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I really, really loved your character in it.
We're holding thumbs.
Yeah,
that gets picked up. We really are. I think
that's amazing.
If Raka happens, so again, Sigourney Weaver is also pushing it.
Yeah.
You know, she wanted Alien. I'll work with you in Aliens, Neil. We'll come up with our own story. We'll make it bigger and better than Aliens. We'll create our own world. You know what I mean? So, and I appreciate you guys reaching out to me. It's such an amazing feeling to know that, like, you know, I'm not stuck in my own little bubble.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, my films are getting out there, and people are starting to notice my work, and that's all that matters to me. You know, don't judge me by my lifestyle, judge me by my work, and my work is where I excel. You know what I mean?
That's absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. You've been great company, Brandon. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too, guys, and thank you very much for everything. I really, really appreciate it.